In this video, I took on arguably one of Persona 3 Reload's hardest challenges, and here's how it went.
Persona! Please destroy it!
That's a lot of damage!
Do it again.
Oh no!
Thank you. Cut, G.
Why you like this?
Hello there.
Better scramble like an egg.
Holy.
That ain't right!
You fool!
Holy!
The Arcana is the means by which all is revealed.
I won't miss my chance! Firepower! You're finished!
To start off my inevitably crash-filled and very painful journey, we start at the title screen and choose Merciless as the only way to get a challenge in any Persona game. We get off the train and land in Tatsumi Port Island, a location that, geographically speaking, should take hours to traverse. However, we would completely break the laws of physics with fast traveling because game mechanics. We walk around the suspiciously dirt green colored station filled with coffins and blood, yet we are ignoring all of our surroundings, much to the parallels of how depression works in real life. We reach our dormitory and are greeted by what I can only assume was something they added last minute for ambiance, because the game never does anything else like this. We walk past the desk and are jump scared by a child who, in earlier renditions of the series, appears to have no arms. He asks for our name as if he couldn't tell that the super famous Rize Kujikawa has just walked through his door. He exposits for a few minutes and then leaves, leaving us with unknown girl who is packing heat. Unfortunately, our execution is stopped midway by other girl, who reveals herself as Edelgard von Hresfeld, the daughter of a high-ranking group that controls a vast part of the population. We're also introduced to unknown girl who does not matter. A lot of exposition happens while we get spied on in our sleep, however we will not discuss this as to not start Sprinklergate Electric Boogaloo. For the 4/9 full moon of my randomized run, another dorm member revealed as Akihiko Sanada comes in with a broken arm from fighting what I can only assume is a beefed up level 2 Cowardly Maya. I am waking up from my slumber as unknown girl hands me a large pole with a knife duct taped onto it and says good luck. We run upstairs and trap ourselves there with an enemy because survival instincts have not been unlocked on the skill tree just yet. Worst girl then proves exactly why she is useless and is severely outclassed by every other romance option in the game, and forces us to take matters into our own hands. We decide to fall asleep for 8 days as opposed to 5 years, and have the dissatisfaction of being greeted by nobody, who exposits some more. A few days pass and we learn of blah blah persona, blah blah tartar sauce, and blah blah the power of waking. After some tutorial nonsense, we are finally able to officially begin our randomized run after 30 minutes of text boxes. To all those wondering why the enemies have not been random so far, it's because A, the first encounter of the game on 4/9 cannot be randomized, and B, the first time we explore Tartarus is technically just one big tutorial, which means there's no way to strategize for it and is basically an impossible soft lock. As this is the first time we've ever done this, it's time to set some simple ground rules. We get one randomized persona and one randomized skill per full moon. There's no velvet rooming whatsoever and no grabbing any personas from shuffle time. If we cannot progress past an unavoidable encounter or boss, we must restart the run from the beginning. Though contrary to Rule 3, if there is an unavoidable encounter or boss that crashes, we are allowed to re-randomize the run whilst keeping our progress. And of course, we must beat the final boss and watch the credits roll. We begin our gambling addiction and get Mishagugi with the skill Elect Driver, an ironic homage to a run long forgotten. While this means we should have no trouble clearing encounters, our main issue lies in our SP. Mazayonga costs 16 SP while we only start with 57, meaning we can only get 3 out before needing more SP. This will become the bane of my existence very soon. For the first gatekeeper of my randomized run, I quickly realized that despite my setup of a level 48 persona, this encounter was going to need some levels.
Watch out! Watch out! Watch out! Copernicus!
I can't believe you've done this.
I decided to look around for enemies on the lower floors that don't crash, and I ran into this.
You are my sunshine.
Now, Supreme Hand is great. Only issue is it's an encounter that can one-shot me. And killing it is like hitting Mike Tyson with a wet noodle in a dream. Worst over, even if I do kill it, I run into the issue of dying immediately after. I needed to make a decision of whether to keep ramming my head against a wall now, or potentially ramming my head through the ceiling later. I ended up opting to wait and leave Tartarus instead. Doing this allows me to do 2 things. I can use degenerate strategies to grind Punch Boxer, which gives 3 strength to my currently equipped persona, and 2, if I decide to wait for the 5/9 full moon, I potentially get a better persona to clear the gatekeeper. We push on until I reach 57 strength with Mishagugi, and I was feeling pretty confident that my deathbound would actually be able to do something this time. I then make a Joseph Anderson reference by telling Edelgard I want to go to Tartarus. Man, shout out Joseph Anderson, dude. And I'm then applauded for my comedic genius. I gritted through Tartarus while searching for gold hands, and I would also like to take the time to note that since we have not beaten the floor 5 gatekeeper, we do not have access to Baton Pass just yet. Hey, wouldn't that be very tragic if that so happens to be the reason for many deaths later? We get a cheeky crit on the Cupid, followed by the gold hand, and despite my best effort, he runs away. Oh my gosh, why are you like this? No!
The enemy.
At this point, we leave the battle and reload the save, avoiding any puns in the process. I decide to go for the gatekeeper once more, and this happens.
Do it again.
So close yet so far. I decided this time to guard on Junpei since the Gigas hates men, and I decided that, as a party member, Junpei is replaceable. Luckily, guarding nullifies the chance of getting crit, which stops the boss from getting a 1 more. After abusing degenerate Marin Karen stress that Edelgard herself would approve of, we cheese our way out of the first of many gatekeepers and finally gain some levels. However, our suffering has only just begun. For the upcoming shift tutorial of my randomized run, our next obstacle we come across are this knight and Burb with a hand that's there for moral support. Luckily for us, there are no mini bosses in this encounter, which means our degenerate strats should be effective. On the flip side, this is an unskippable encounter, which means we cannot just leave after cheesing the gold hand, unfortunately. After watching Bird vs Knight slapboxing, we get wiped for our hubris and have to reload. I decide to try my luck at the floor 3 gold hand once more, and after attempting to repeatedly swap the world's tiniest molecule with a piece of paper, we finally critted, and then...
That's a clean hit.
I'm literally exploding right now. And of course Junpei has to be...
I have to do this.
Okay, come on, chill out. I'm about to...
The enemy fled. There's only one left.
Shimmy, yeah.
Hey, hang in there.
It's so close. Words cannot express my pain. After repeatedly failing, I decided to go and try the other encounter on floor 3, that being a beefed up Magnus and Tranquil Idol. After dying a few times, I was able to cheese the Tranquil Idol, which resulted in 703 XP, which was enough for 2 additional levels in an economy where I really need them. We save and then try our luck at the gold hand once more, which goes about as expected.
Miss.
After getting the most blue balled I've ever been,
Nope.
I decided to try the second set of encounters on floor 2 and was greeted by the Hierophants and an Overseer. Yeah, there was no shot that I was winning that. For the uninformed, from my experience, Tartarus has 2 sets of enemies per floor. To keep the game lively, the game hops between these 2 sets, and it remains between floors. For example, if I kill the floor 4 enemy in the first set, I will now be in the second set for all of Tartarus. This is great because it means in the first set for floor 2, it's a crash. However, the second set is an actual enemy I can fight, though you just saw how that went. Lastly, the game always starts you in the first set, so if you die or restart the game, you will forcibly be put back in the first set. We will be abusing this later. I continue bashing my head against the, at this point, suspiciously gold-plated wall, but decide to leave considering I need to keep some brain cells. For my upcoming second attempt at the shift tutorial of my randomized run, I decide to keep on grinding punch boxers as a mean to offset my insanely low levels. I head back into Tartarus once more, getting slapped around a bit and reaching level 13 from cheesing the Tranquil Idol again. Our persona stock count increases to 8, which does nothing for us, and we unlock Vacuum Slash on Jumpy. After waiting around, presumably questioning my life choices and gaining 1 more level, unlocking Magaru on this interloper, I decide to try for the gold hands once more, and then this happens.
That's a clean hit situation.
Bro. Chris! Stop, aren't you pretty? Oh my god. No.
Like you cut, G.
After dying over and over again, I predict my own deaths. Please just do Marin Karen. Holy arrow on me. Wait, no, not on me.
How could this happen?
Why did I
Hey,
say
hang in there.
No, like actually, why did I say that? And then the unimaginable happens.
Good. That's 1 less to worry about.
Hold up. 3,831 XP. A whole 4 levels that I really needed. With Secunded now being added to the roster, I finally had a way of making the fight slightly easier. I also then realized that the strength of the HP skills were proportional to the HP of the user, which is a dumb mistake on my part. Moving on, I decided to try and kill the Cupid, even though the hand escaped, and anticlimactic but sure. With us being able to now reliably kill gold hands, I start the grind, first hitting level 21 and then 22. My party dies, so I get solo XP, getting me to level 24, and then them to level 23. I decided to kill Tranquil Idol for no real reason, but it got me to 25, so we take those. After getting to level 26, I decided to take on the shift tutorial once more, and after a few attempts, we finally get past one of the last tutorials we have to deal with, and then I die.
No, I was kidding! No, chill out. Ooh.
How could this happen? Hey, hang in there!
Oh, you go right foot.
And have to do it again. After doing my best solid snake impression and almost failing,
Please not like this. Please not like that. I was kidding. Please not me. It's weak. No. Okay. Please chill out. Mudo. That's fine. Don't die. Okay.
we make it to the teleporter and finally get a chance to save, and the run lives on. For the upcoming 5/9 full moon of my randomized run, we decide to attempt the floor 11 gatekeeper when a special guest named the Lovers Arcana decides to show up. Though, fun fact, Lovers does not fight back, so yeah. Most free XP I've ever seen. On floor 12 lies the Golden Hand tutorial, in which Edelgard hilariously explains what they are, as if we haven't massacred its family already. However, since it's a randomizer, we get introduced to Giga Cupid, which dies in one hit. Anyways, our next target is the floor 17 gatekeeper, and I'll let it speak for itself.
Help me! Help me!
We push on until we reach the border floor on floor 22, and since we cannot continue forward, it's time for some Mishigugi grinding. I decided to grab the locked chest that I missed, as well as reaching level 49 for Zyodine, which is SP efficient by the very high number of 2. I decided to leave Tartarus and go to the 5/9 full moon. This will be the first big roadblock, because if I can't get past this, all of the days I grinded will be for nothing. For my first attempt at the 5/9 full moon of my randomized run, the first few scrub fights on the train crash if they're randomized, so the normal enemies fill in. However, the boss is still randomized, which is our main target, and this happens. From here on out, I will introduce my list of folders for this run. Old Rize is our original file that we started on. Since an unskippable encounter crashed, we will now re-randomize the file, but not our persona, and we keep our progress. Later on, you will see that I make about 7 folders that show my deteriorating sanity trying to complete this run. I cycle these out each time the game crashes, however I soon realize I can go back to Old Rize once the encounter is over. We end up not crashing and are introduced to the first full moon boss. A table. With hands! Unironically, this table is stronger than the full moon boss that's actually here.
Oh no!
Unfortunately, this table knows Hamon, which is a 40% chance to just kill me. And with no homunculus for sacrifice yet, I have no way of preventing it. And I end up dying to Mahama.
You fool! Holy!
After a few deaths, I realized that this fight is borderline impossible with my current setup, and I'm going to need to do something else to get past it. I switched back to Old Rize, and after running around Tartarus for a bit, I ran into exactly what I needed. Yes, your eyes don't deceive you, that's Hermit! You know, one of the late game full moon bosses. And fun fact about Hermit, when it's not charged up, it can only use Zio and Mazio, both skills of which Mishigugi naturally blocks. However, the problem was the conviction sword that was there. Despite my attempts of degenerate tree strats, I get doubled by the Tempest Slash and die once more. After being mercilessly Tempest Slashed to death a dozen times, this happens.
Is that it? Zyodine. Oh my gosh.
Nicely done.
Oh. You fool.
With that, it's time to introduce you to Hermit's Gambit, and enjoy this 20 times sped up video. I decided I wanted to split the XP with Junpei and No Name, yet despite this, I accidentally commit to an in-game reenactment of Icarus and failed horribly. Luckily, this was still a huge win for the team that resulted in 39k XP, putting us from level 30 to 43. However, more importantly, I got the skill card Mudo, and oh man, when I say this is probably our biggest break yet, I do mean biggest. Yes, that's right, Conviction Sword is in fact weak to Dark, meaning that Dark insta-kill is the right man for the job. Now, it just came down to playing Hermit's Gambit again, a few more times for level 48, level 50, and 52, getting no strike in the process. For my second attempt at the 5/9 full moon of my randomized run, I decided that level 52 was good enough to attempt the table once more, and so I leave Tartarus and prepare for war. While I was contemplating how to beat this boss, Rize decided to become Weeb Nation certified, making this entire encounter a joke. With 21k XP in my back pocket, putting us to level 53, we push on as we can officially say the run is not dead. Since we've gotten past the first full moon boss, we gain a new persona with a new skill. This time our gambling efforts have rewarded us with Metatron, a very much in-game persona rewarded to us from Aegis, as well as Diamond Dust as the random skill. Moving on, we go talk to Elizabeth, who gives us free money for menial tasks, then we increase our stats with the arcade on our off days, focusing mainly on strength and magic. Considering I don't have infinite money, I soon realized that I'll need to work on days that I'm not using stat boost to accommodate. We continue through the days and some plot happens, Ryoji jump scares us again,
Hello there.
we join the student council, and hear about a suspicious ghost story at school that this chick is way too invested in and drags everyone into it. I decide to head into Tartarus to level up Akihiko, considering we'll be down one party member on the 6/8 full moon. While doing this, I figured we should check out the floor 28 gatekeeper, and yeah, unfortunately for us, we ran into strength alongside a really annoying samurai. So instead of subjecting myself to torture, I realized that to win this battle, I'll probably need to unlock the Urges. For the upcoming 6/8 full moon of my randomized run, I decide to leave Tartarus because grinding is cringe. I meet up with third best girl, Odagiri, and a girl that suspiciously looks like a character from the school trip in Persona 4 Golden, a game with an arguably better plot.
Enemy spotted.
Since we are just a figurehead for the group that just goes along with whoever speaks the loudest, we follow random girl and best boy Junpei into this alleyway, in a very funny scene when sped up where they all just stand around and don't say anything for a good few seconds, and then Junpei just randomly gets hit. We run into third best boy Shinji for the second time, and become a wage slave once more. More plot happens and we find out there's a famous YouTuber trapped inside Tartarus that we must go rescue before it's too late. We execute a plan that honestly has way too many flaws to even be considered coherent, and launch ourselves up into Tartarus. We got separated and then reunite with our team, which we are then introduced to Berlizzi.
It is hot as hell in this funky ass, hot ass room I'm in.
We hand Berlin a gun, fourth best boy Akihiko makes a comment on the moon suspiciously being full, and then we run downstairs to see our backup squad has collapsed. As this fight is heavily scripted, serving as Berlizzi's awakening, the randomizer hates it. Ironically enough, all these folders come from this one fight and me trying to see if it was actually broken or not. We fold Emperor and Empress in 4 hits and continue on with our conquest. We continue through the days like usual, doing either random social links or leveling up strength and or magic, because the arcade is busted. After using up all our money, we sell some stuff so that we can take on the Wild Duck Burger Challenge, and we keep on pushing. On 6/11 we get a notification that Navi is getting released from the hospital today, which brings us to our first glaring roadblock. Up to this point you may have been thinking, oh, because he got to level 50 so fast this challenge is going to be boring for the rest of the video. But no one was prepared for what came next. Leading up to 6/13 in my randomized run, since the gang's all here, the chairman decides to introduce the Urges to us, which if you recall is what I need to be able to progress through Tartarus. The team decides to suit up in fancy gear, knowing full well they've never done anything like this before. We swap some gear and get ready to head inside. Now typically this section wouldn't be an issue. Normally you fight some low level enemies just to progress this part of the game. However, the randomizer had something different for us in mind, and I'll just let it speak for itself.
No crash? Okay. Uta.
I'm in the house like carpet, and if there's too many heads in my blunt, I won't spark it. I'll put it in my pocket and save it like rocket fuel.
That's right, we have Scarlet Turret, known for being insanely DPS heavy, Hermit, which wouldn't be an issue if we weren't forced to bring literally worst girl, and of course Nyx. Now ironically enough, my only two main concerns at first were the turret and Hermit. Nyx doesn't actually attack, following the trend of certain boxes with janky AI. So you would think this is free. However, we run into our first really unique issue of the run. After suffering due to being humbled by the randomizer, we're finally able to whittle down the turret, and I realized after bumbling around a little bit that the game does not like it if Nyx's model is in the background while there is only one enemy remaining. At first I thought this just meant I had to re-randomize the fight, but actually there was another solve to it. if I were to kill both the Hermit and Nyx at the same time, would it still crash? I didn't know, and so I tested out. I died again, and again, and again in attempts to test my theory, and then...
For all the marbles, let's see. I'm so smart! My brain is the most massive brain that is to ever grace existence.
After feeding levels to Mitsuru, we continue on to the second fight. Due to previous experience that will unfortunately become long forgotten due to time, I know that the first and third fight are the same, and that so long as the second fight doesn't crash, we should be in the clear. We sift through the bots and continue on to the third fight, which is literally just the first, but now Mitsuru has Maracunda, making it significantly faster. After getting a lucky dizzy, the fight went just like last time, with Mitsuru also getting this XP. Since the actual Theurgy fight, in which Worst Girl finally tries to be useful, cannot be randomized, this fight is essentially just a scripted victory lap for us, as we successfully gotten through the Theurgy roadblock, and finally get to move on past 613. Liar! Following the Theurgy tutorial of my randomized run, we get some goodies from Third Best Girl for doing well on exams, then head straight to Tartarus following the Theurgy tutorial. Ironically enough, I forget to grab a new persona after getting past the full moon, so I guess this was secretly a nerfed run. I try to fight Hierophant and get humbled by Overseer.
Psych!
So I decide to go fight Hermit so I can get level Junpei up. We bump up to level 42, and with the team relatively around each other strength-wise, I decide to go take on the next gatekeeper. I should take the time to say that because this is a randomized run, one of my biggest nerfs, ironically enough, is Theurgy. Luckily I unlocked it for my team, but due to rule number 2 of the run, getting an actual useful Theurgy for myself is going to prove difficult. And by difficult I mean completely based on RNG. This fight ends up being really tough due to my team getting feared constantly and getting hit with Tempest/crits. It gets to the point where I'm not even doing damage, I'm just trying to survive. I realize that going to this fight with Theurgies is probably the smarter move, and so I leave, go back to lower floors and start grinding. For some reason my hubris got the better of me, and I decided to just try the fight again after getting bored, which leads to me just leaving Tartarus because rage. Leading up to the 7/7 full moon of my randomized run. After leaving Tartarus, Mitsuru shows us around the dorm, despite us living there for 2 months already. We do some more social linking and leveling up. We meet Strega, with second best girl Chidori being followed around by Takaya Simp and Man with No Shirt. He uses Joker's neutral special, and we continue on like we did not just witness a murder. Akihiko meets up with Shinji, we do some more leveling. I decide to hold off on floor 28 while I go handle the next full moon. Berlin scans the area and we find out the Shadow is shacked up in the Love Hotel. And we crash. After running back up there, we find Spooky Castle with max health. Unfortunately for him, we have Divine Judgment and arguably cruel but funny way of killing him. We smack the mirror in the room and they are greeted by what I can only describe as most certainly someone's wet dream. After witnessing product placement, making the funny P4 reference, Dire. That's not you're not me! And getting hit by No Name signature technique. After getting past the Yukari boss fight, we reunite with our group and head upstairs to run it back with the boss. No Name gets to have a full Theurgy because embarrassment.
Unforgivable. I'll never forgive you for that!
And we steamroll this fight.
I'm about cooking, bro.
Following this, we get stalked by the 3 quirky kids next door, and we continue on with the run. Before sailing off to Yakushima of my randomized run, I finally remember that this is a randomizer and not a Suffering is Eternal playthrough, and finally get my 3rd randomized persona, which should actually be my 4th, but it's fine. We get reminded of our past that has withered due to time, and he has come back with a fresh coat of paint. We now have Armor Piercing Shell, which if you don't know is one of the tank's moves from the Chariot Justice duel fight. Seeing as this move doesn't crash us and has a net cost of 0 HP, yeah, I think you can all see where this is going. We do the funny reference,
Welcome, White Rider. Welcome, Catman.
and make a disclaimer.
There's gonna be just somebody who like has tuned out the past like 3 times I've mentioned Joseph Anderson. They're gonna be like, they're gonna get to the comments, he's stealing all of his jokes. I can't wait. I cannot wait.
And we are now dedicating all my strength days to White Rider. More plot happens, No Name stands up from her chair to accuse 3rd best girl, Junpei has some self-reflection, Worst Girl has another monologue, and while all this is going on, I have more Tanaka to watch. We breeze through exams, meet Katone's jailbait, and now it's time to sail to Yakushima for more plot, and for Junpei, in typical anime fashion, to have an excuse to make the girls feel very, very uncomfortable. More plot happens, we watch Ikusuki's best handiwork in Final Cut Pro, and Worst Girl has a mental breakdown that we are now responsible for. The guys plus Rize decide to go hit on the local populace, and we get introduced to arguably and undeniably Best Girl.
As they say.
We officially get introduced to Aigis and then do an all-out attack on Junpei, concluding the obligatory beach scene that is in every Persona game, leading up to the next gatekeepers of 28, 35, 36, 42, 47, 54, and 60. A whole lot of nothing happens besides me leveling up White Rider's stats, though we do meet second best boy Koromaru, aka Famous Dog, and continue on. I decide I've put it off long enough and it's now time to plow through some Tartarus floors. I level up Aigis a bit through our Hermit and decide to try and kill Hierophant, in which... at the very least I don't have to think about it anymore, but now it's time for my salty run back with... After trying and failing numerous times, Aigis shows us exactly why she is Best Girl, with getting a crit followed by my own.
Tactical nuke incoming!
With the noose instead, we can finally just kill Strength as if it was the normal full moon encounter and move on. Mitsuru snaps her fingers, does damage, and we continue through Tartarus finally. We keep going, get to the next gatekeeper on floor 35, pub stomp it, as well as floor 36. Since we got past the roadblock known as Samurai, getting past these gatekeepers haven't been too difficult. Pushing past floor 42 Verb, we get to floor 47 Gatekeeper, which looks intimidating at first, but when in doubt, deathbound it out, and we keep pushing forward. We reach floor 54's Gatekeep, which holds a vestige of the past.
Hello there.
Showing us just how far we've come on our journey. At first, it looks like White Hand was going to give us some trouble, but it only has buffs and debuffs, so we push forward. We reach the floor 60 Gatekeeper, who is, yeah, unfortunately, Takai's AI does crash, which means we have to re-randomize and add him to the list of enemies to exclude. Now, unfortunately, while recording, I forgot to set my scene back to the game. So this is the only gatekeeper this happens for, but unfortunately, you're just gonna have to trust me on this one. Floor 60 just dies. Luckily, this is the only time I make this mistake, and after this, I decide to restart OBS. For the 8-6 full moon of my randomized run, after getting to floor 77, we leave Tartarus and get ready for the 8-6 full moon. Unfortunately, this is another case of the boss not being able to be randomized. I'm not entirely sure whether this was an encounter problem or I just kept getting unlucky with the randomization, but for now we do the full moon just normal and keep it pushing. Unironically, the game starts ramping up a bit here, duly noted by Worst Girl proving once again her lack of worth by getting one shot. At first I thought we had a bit of a fight on our hands before realizing
Your powers are mine!
And giving them a taste of their own medicine. Mitsuru snaps her fingers once more and the full moon is concluded. We give in to our gambling addiction once more, being rewarded with Dakini and the Theurgy best friends. Now here's the deal, unfortunately despite how funny it would be, we can't have a Theurgy as a skill. The game doesn't actually register it being completed and you just get soft lock trying to use it. However, I decided that since we did get it by a random skill, I would just unlock the Theurgy on myself. This way I finally obtain a useful Theurgy and not just be stuck with Cadenza all game. Leading up to the 9-5 full moon of my randomized run. Since Dakini is pretty useless to us compared to our other personas, we just continue to level up social links and our stronger ones. More plot happens, second best boy joins the party officially and then unfortunately gets benched. More plot happens, we get a doctor's checkup, meet up with Shirtless Man, and it crashes. We do the encounter like normal with Takaya sandbagging the entire time as we do the heavy lifting. We continue on, more plot happens again, Mitsuru flexes her coat wherever she goes, and Junpei starts putting the moves on second best girl. We come back to hear a line every person should respect.
No means no.
Meet Shirtless Man again on a walk, and continue on. We do Akihiko's linked episode, Junpei fails at spitting some more game, and we continue leveling up persona stats. Aigis says, as a party member, she is not replaceable, and decides to enroll in school. Shinji joins the team, only to be immediately benched since we don't associate with walking corpses. More plot happens, Junpei decides to sell out the team for even the slightest chance at getting Chidori. Please. No. And now we're back in Tartarus. My plan for the floor 77 gatekeeper is simple, grind Theurgies then full dump them. However,
let's do this.
Yeah, this is going to be a tough one. I decide I can't beat it right now and just go for the full moon instead. For the 9-5 full moon in my randomized run, for his crimes of being a simp, Junpei gets kidnapped while there's an operation going on. This time, on the roster is Hermit, despite the 50 clones of him that we've slain. Luckily this fight can be randomized no problem, so we get the giant statue, pop some abilities, then continue on. Junpei saves his trap queen from getting all out attacked by all the persona cows. Chidori gets put in the hospital, which is her version of the silly room, and we grab our next randomized persona. This time we get Hellel, which is cruel considering this is one half of an otherwise very useful puzzle. Unfortunately, the only skill we get on it is Racunda, which is not that useful, but at least we have Heat Riser and Salvation on the team. More plot happens, Junpei still tries to res up Chidori, and we close out on this day. Little did I know, at this point I was actually a bit burnt out from playing, and I went on a month hiatus from recording. Whoops. I refamiliarized myself with the run, level up some more stats, do some social links and gardening, and then continue on. After returning, I once again tried my hand at floor 77 Gatekeeper, the encounter that single-handedly made me take a 1-month hiatus, and was quickly reminded why that was so. This encounter is incredibly difficult despite our levels and abilities. Against all odds, we actually weren't doing half bad on this attempt. With some more than lucky dodges and some good RNG, we were surviving quite a long time. At this point, I'm popping everything in hopes to finally get through this. We get a lucky Fuka proc for a party-wide Heat Riser. We luckily don't get crit on the following Vorpal Blade, and then...
Oh, dude, you just lost. Well, boom boom bye bye punch face. Oh my gosh, we won.
No shadows detected.
Wow, okay, well, yeah, I was actually in disbelief. I did not expect to win, but we take those. With that out of the way, we do the funny melody impression. Hold up. Well, that just happened. Which, as a by the way, shout out for her for the amazing work as doing FEMC in this mod. And after that, we finally push forward, unlocking Monad doors. Now, here's the thing. As you'll see later, we do have a better system for Monad doors. However, now with this specific one, it's a scripted event, and thus cannot be randomized. With getting past that, we officially now have access to Monad doors, and we continue forward. For the next Gatekeeper on floor 82, we run into 3 fodder enemies and keep pushing. We test out whether Monad doors can be randomized, and
Holy Jesus. What is that?
yeah, that's a terrifying sight. But honestly, Persona could use more of these. I learned that Monad doors accurately display the persona you're actually going to fight, which is interesting because I don't know why Gatekeepers don't function the same, but sure.
Hello there.
For Gatekeepers 90, 91, 99, 105, and 112 of my randomized run, we reached the floor 90 Gatekeeper, which actually gave us some trouble at first,
Hello there.
but luckily we overcome it and push on to the Gatekeeper on 91. That's just a fodder and some wheel. With that, we unlock Monad passages to unlock more cards. We use the Yukari healing service and descend the Monad passage. Now, the Monad passage did crash quite a bit, but luckily it actually does work. It just took me re-randomizing it a bit. We fight the funny hand that turned out it did not like me laughing. And now this is turned to an actual fight. We cycle out the Urges on the hand, which don't do much damage, but with a lucky dodge from Mosq Girl, a snap from Mitsuru, and a crit from Rize, we keep pushing forward. Next, we run into a big hand, some dice, and a scary castle. Luckily, we get a lucky weakness strike, and I was making the mistake of spreading out my damage. Despite it being a bit close, we end out the battle, grab an Arcana card, and finish the passage. For the floor 99 Gatekeeper, we bonk some of the enemies with Arrow Rain and Armor Piercer, and finish it off with a Ziodyne all-out attack for a quick battle. Reach the floor 105 Gatekeeper, freeze the dice, crit the dice, and shoot the dice to end the battle. Moving on to the next Gatekeeper on floor 112, we run into Takaya, which goes about as expected.
One hop this time.
Then we find a Scale who just dies.
Bye-bye!
On floor 117, we find our second Monad passage and decide to descend it. We crash, then go back, finding Hierophant with the Minotaur. We casually half-hit Hierophant because why not, and finish the battle off with Armor Piercer. Moving forward, we find a funny table that only basic attacks, and a tower that is weak to strike. We end the battle with a cheeky crit from Best Girl and keep pushing forward. We run into a Rampage drive with 2 fodder enemies and we quickly end the battle, finishing off this Monad passage. With that being done, we finish up this block of Tartarus and finally leave my least favorite block. For Gatekeepers 125, 126, 132, 136, and 143 of my randomized run. Continuing on, we reach the next block of Tartarus, aka my favorite one to traverse, reaching the floor 125 Gatekeeper. We throw some funny arrows and some ice at it, and a Magarula into myriad arrows to end the battle. We keep moving through the double battle and fight a silly hand that dies in one shot, ending the series battle. Moving on, we find a greedy shadow that crashes the game, try it again, and bonk with the dice. We reach the floor 132 Gatekeeper, which is just another silly hand that almost bonks us with a reflect, and so we retaliate with some disproportionate retribution. Reach the floor 136 Gatekeeper, pop Arrow Rain, heal them because of Worst Girl, and then hit a weakness with Best Girl. We use this rush command and just win the battle. We reach the floor 143 Gatekeeper, he crashes, turns into a wheel, I crit him, and that's all she wrote. We get to our third Monad passage, start the first battle with enemies that don't actually take much damage with Arrow Rain. Mitsuru currently is out of SP, and Fukas does not feel like replenishing it, so we pop Orgia mode, let Best Girl pop off, and end the battle. We run into another funny hand and a samurai, and start whittling down the hand with Armor Piercers. We finish the battle after some casualties and keep moving forward. For the final boss of the Monad passage, we run to another vestige of the past who we easily dispatch.
Like you cut, G.
With that being done, we finish the Monad passage, reach the border floor, and finally catch up on Tartarus after being behind, climbing 70 Tartarus floors in one day. For the upcoming 10-4 full moon in my randomized run, we have quite a lot of time to kill to get to the next full moon, so to not bore you with the details, best girl at school, second best girl is in the hospital, bestest girl Elizabeth likes escalators, and we rack in some cash. We feed some levels to our persona stats as usual. We do some linked episodes, do even more social links, get some characteristics, and try to get through this stretch of days as fast as possible. We clean up the non-existent culture festival, do some slapstick comedy to indulge the MILF hunter, and continue through our days. After speedrunning September, we reached 10-4, aka the day everyone decided to universally hate on a kid for something that, in retrospect, is definitely not his fault. Unfortunately, due to the mechanics and scripts of this fight, it cannot be randomized.
You're mad! I'm back!
So we proceed through it like normal. Strength hides Fortune, we have PTSD from 428, and Fortune plays Spin the Wheel. We easily dispatch Strength after spamming Zidine, Fortune makes a funny prediction, and we end the fight on the funny number.
Nice.
We cut over to Shinji and Ken having a friendly disagreement, then No Shirt says there's not enough death happening here, and decides to do something about it. Shinji finds out he's weak to gun, twice, Ken forgets that he knows healing magic, and we end the night with the unfortunate loss of an actually decent party member. Fun fact, if this were P3P, we could have saved him. However, Atlas has decided that as a teammate, Shinji is replaceable, and we continue on. For the upcoming floor 151 gatekeeper of my randomized run, we have Shinji's funeral, Akihiko's second waking, and then we talk about Akihiko and Mitsuru, and how they are bots for not realizing what day it is.
You stupid!
And then we push on. Since we passed another full moon, it is time to once again succumb to our gambling addiction, this time getting King Frost with the skill No Rage. A bit of a letdown, but considering our current loadout, we dismiss it, become a wage slave, and continue on. More plot happens, Ken has a second awakening, and we are greeted by Ryoji once more. We do some more stat raises, hang out with Worst Boy, and have some
delicious pancakes.
We get more gifts from Mitsuru for being a great student, and hang out with Berlin. He gets his second awakening after Natsuki decides to pull a Shiho minus the roof. And we keep leveling Persona stats, because social links, the central theme of Persona, are cringe. We hug Worst Girl out of pity, brush Koromaru, then head into Tartarus. We rescue Maiko, climb some more floors, use the Great Clock, then die. We rush back in after paying the price for our ever-increasing hubris, run to Takaya the Crasher, and reload. We get our salty run back and abuse our levels to take down the floor 151 gatekeeper, which results in Junpei getting the level 60, and Best Girl gets the funny number.
As they say.
For the floor 151, 161, 170, and 171 gatekeepers of my randomized run, I run into a dark floor and have a theory I wanted to test. Considering all enemies are randomized, it stands to reason that the Reaper is randomized too. However, this brings up a question that I didn't consider before. For anyone that's beaten the Reaper before, you know there's a guaranteed shuffle time after the battle. My question was, are the shuffle time items tied to the enemy or the encounter? Berlizzi says the funny line, we crit the rando and finish it out with an all-out attack, which results in... And we have defeated the Reaper, everybody. Wait. After testing my theory a second time and looking at the wiki, it was exactly what I thought it was. However, we saved some more bots in Tartarus, reaching the floor 161 gatekeeper. We do some more monading, then continue climbing. After rescuing the final person, we decide to keep monading because tarot cards and because free Tartarus search. We reach the floor 170 gatekeeper, he gets crit farmed, Best Girl hits a weakness, and I crit because it's funny. Continuing the double battle on floor 171's gatekeeper, we pop Fucus Theurgy for no real reason, then we one-shot him. We start descending the fourth monad passage, one-shot the very first enemy, grab a tarot card, then keep it pushing. We shoot the lion, pop some buffs and debuffs, shoot the lion again, and get crit for absolutely no reason. We get our sweet revenge, and then go on to the final boss of the passage, which is a funny lantern man and the funny table, both of which unsatisfyingly get one shot. I decided to farm monad passages because getting to get more than one thing from shuffle time is busted. We pick up the star turret, which does exactly that, and grab our last two targets needed for Arcana Burst, which now means it's time to enact my master plan. For my upcoming master plan and the 11-3 full moon of my randomized run. If you remember, just a few minutes ago we discovered that shuffle times are tied to the encounter and not the enemies, making the Reaper basically a walking talkie freebase vending machine. With this in mind, I decided to do what any rational player would do and use my free will to invoke degenerate tactics. So now, let me introduce all of you to what I can only dub as Reaper's Gambit. Our main target is Pierce Amp for Weiss Rider, Elect Amp for Michigugi, and Concentrate, which we get quickly. We jump out of Tartarus and I forget it's full moon time. I try repeatedly to see if it can be randomized, which the game just disagrees, so this is another case of having to go through the normal encounter. We fight Jin and Takaya, they pull a funny move, and Jin proves why he too is a useless party member, because instead of using lightning on the robot, he focuses on me. We destroy them both with minimal effort and continue on to the boss. We try to randomize it once more to no avail, so this is just another normal encounter. We kill the statues, hit the boss for 12,948 damage, and get blue balled because this is a scripted fight and there is no fun allowed.
I did it.
We do more damage, kill the funny looking statue, and finally take down the last full moon boss with minimal casualties. Following the events of 11-3 of my randomized run, Yogi greets us outside the dark hour before dying, we have a nice dinner with the gang, take a group photo, and remark that Ikutsuki and Aigis are taking suspiciously long to get here. We hear the Bell of Awakening, go confront Ikutsuki, and Aigis hits us with the Fade to Black Crucifixion combo, which in hindsight actually makes sense here considering she's much higher than everyone else on the team. We see fake memories from Aigis, see the unedited version of Worst Girl's dad dying in 4K, and regress into our crippling gambling addiction, this time granting us Nidhogger with the skill Light Amp, which is absolutely useless considering we now have a way to farm amps. We force feed Aigis some incense despite her not being in the party right now, and gets jump scared by Igor in our sleep. Junpei rolls a 0 on his charm check, and we do some more social linking because boredom. We finally duplicate the fruits of our degeneracy, giving Michigugi the missing piece. Unfortunately, this will never replace our son, which has been lost to time. We help Junpei get his charm up by buying the flowers for him and telling him that, as a girlfriend, Chidori is not replaceable and he needs to go do something about it. For the floor 179, 184, 188, and 193 gatekeepers of my randomized run, we get introduced to someone who looks suspiciously like that child we just kicked out of our head, get forced to listen to Rush E, and go into Tartarus once more. Despite being down a party member, we decide to throw Katone Jailbait in the mix and start Reaper's Gambit, Electric Boogaloo. This time our targets were the big three, Auto Matarukuja, Auto Mararakukuja, and Auto Masakukuja. If you're wondering why the Reaper's randomized enemy is different, it's just because I was on new Rize instead of old Rize, and considering they both die in 1 to 2 shots, I decided not to waste time switching out the files and kept it moving. I decided to grab the star and Justice Turrets because money, and then we continue on. We spend, I kid you not, 4 hours committing to Reaper's Gambit and decide to take a break till the next day, deciding to continue for an additional hour, then continue with Tartarus. I would like to state for the record we did not get Auto Masakukuja despite my investments. We reach the floor 179 gatekeeper, shoot the burb, and push forward. The next gatekeeper is on floor 184, which had Hanged Man and a random swift axle. We decide to theurgy jump to get through the fight quickly. I shoot him with the funny armor piercer, which hits him for 9,685 damage, and we continue forward. For the floor 188 gatekeeper, we run into a funny hand and statue. The turrets immune our arrow rain, so we obliterate it from existence. Following that, we reach the floor 193 gatekeeper, which is literally the first enemy of the game.
Help me! Help me!
And we move on. We reach the border floor, go save, and go into our 5th monad passage. I quickly realize that the first encounter is a 5 enemy battle, which every Persona randomizer hates, so we spam Megidolan because resistances, and we continue forward. Next up is a funny samurai, torch mage, and twins who got armor pierced and suffocated to death. I debate attempting Reaper's Gambit for the last time, grabbed a dark amp, and left Tartarus. For the upcoming 1122 section of my randomized run, after leaving Tartarus, we cash out on our monetary gains, duplicate insta-heal, and hung out with second best boy. We use our night slot on our linked episode with Ken, and continue forward. We do some more social linking to pass the time, Faros has a linked episode, and we do some more duplicating. We reach the Kyoto trip, Aigis does the funny line,
Man.
and we move on to the next day. During the trip, Worst Girl uses her signature move, we hang out with Faros, and then we get ready to commit what I can only describe as a premeditated crime. We evade the girls in a scene that becomes very silly due to using the FEMC mod, return back and hang out with those who left behind. We get woken up during the dark hour, get our transmission hijacked, and meet up with Chidori, who is having an existential crisis on the grounds that she finds Junpei hot. Truly, something that would drive the sanest people mad. Chidori becomes an invincible hand that only knows buffs and debuffs, and I soon realize that this fight is also impossible to be randomized. After realizing I'm soft locked, we armor pierce Chidori, let her go through her breakdown monologue, and end the fight. Takaya sees that not enough death is happening, and once more decides to do something about it. Junpei gets shot, Chidori says no you, says the words every man wants to hear from the one they love,
I love you.
then dies. Junpei gets angry, does 20 damage to Jin because his magic stat is garbage, and then they smoke bomb to get away. After the events of 1122, we go to the antique shop, spend our earnings on stat increases for the team, and continue on. For the upcoming 12-2 full moon and gatekeepers 203, 212, 218, and 225 of my randomized run, we quickly speedrun career experience week, do some social linking, and do some Fuka gaming. We meet up with Faros for the last time, he plays Megalovania, and then disappears. I decide to go into Tartarus before the next full moon, open some chests, activate a great clock, and save some people trapped in there. After saving them, I decide to leave so I can progress the plot. We see into Aegis's and Ryoji's past, realize we are a victim of being in the wrong place at the wrong time. Ryoji one-shots Aegis. We find her, and then Ryoji exposition dumps on us, basically stating that we are going to die no matter what, and we have the choice of either killing him on New Year's and forgetting, or living in fear every day until we're cooked. He says, good luck coming to a decision, leaves, and instead of giving it to despair, I resort to the one thing that has been by my side since the beginning. Gambling! We get Addis with the skill Maximum Firepower, which as you know is Aegis's second Theurgy. Unfortunately, as stated before, we cannot use Theurgies on personas unfortunately, and considering we're at a point in the game where Aegis is gonna come back with her second Theurgy, this was effectively useless to us. We continue on through the days, Junpei yells at us, we go to the arcade, and we burn through the days awaiting the inevitable climb in Tartarus. We reach New Year's Eve, spend it with Fuka, Aegis rejoins the team, then we headed back into Tartarus real quick, we quickly climb the floors, dispatching the floor 203 gatekeeper, and run into a funny glitch.
Oh. Well, fellas, it's been nice seeing you guys. I'll take my business elsewhere.
We crash back to back before finally being able to get in battle. We run into the Nyx Hermit Battle 2.0, but luckily not nearly as annoying. We slip up twice, have to do the battle again, and clear it. We clear gatekeepers 218 and 225, reaching the final border floor, and we have 2 more Monad passages to get through. We fight through the first set of enemies, get jump scared by Megidolan.
Let's do this.
And then jump scared again by the funny Abaddon.
Hello there.
Who crashes. I realize it's a 5-person battle, and so we can't randomize it. We clear them out and complete the second to last Monad passage. For the 1231 full moon and last block of Tartarus of my randomized run, we tell Ryoji that we're stubborn and that it's time to box. He turns to a persona and we tell him that he's a bad listener. We reach New Year's, Trash Takaba uses her signature move once more, though it's slightly deserved this time, and Aegis makes a funny reference.
And it said great luck.
Great vegetable.
Considering we technically got through a full moon, I grabbed my final randomized persona, that being a Neberos with Pierce Driver. Which is then when I realized this game likes to get a good laugh at my expense. We do some social linking, speed through the days, and finally get Best Girl's social link.
As they say.
She gets self-conscious and we reassure her that, as a lover, she's irreplaceable. I display signs of crippling loneliness, and then further double and then triple down on that fact. Aegis has a very much insane line, out of context, and honestly in context too.
I want to leave irrefutable proof on my body of our connection.
She says the funny ribbon line.
Will you untie my ribbon?
Then walk downstairs as if nothing happened. We decide to go into Tartarus to reach the very top before the promised day. After some quick climbing, we dispatch floor 230's gatekeeper. We quickly realize floor 236's gatekeeper is a 5-person battle, which means it cannot be randomized, and then we finish it and move forward. I decide to take on Elizabeth's request and actually attempt the real Reaper. Now, here's the deal. Yes, we have some pretty stacked personas at this point, and yes, we have some good levels on us as well. However, what a lot of people may not realize is just how heavy they rely on their own Theurgy throughout their playthroughs. Unfortunately, one of the biggest downsides to this run is that there's a high possibility that you're just stuck with Cadenza for the entire run, which means no Scarlet Havoc and no Armageddon. With our 2 biggest damage opportunities out the window, I quickly realized that fighting the Reaper right now may not be possible. Considering I didn't feel like waiting around another 5 minutes just to die, I decided to continue forward and just try again later. Reach the floor 241 Gatekeeper, he kills himself, and then we continue on. Next on our crusade is floor 246 Gatekeeper, who gets quickly dispatched as well. Considering this is a double battle, we move on to floor 247, who hit me with a no, so we retaliated with death by hypothermia. We quickly move on to 243's Gatekeeper, who gets 1 shot, and 254's Gatekeeper, who suffers a similar fate. Finally, we reach the last Gatekeeper on floor 255, who is unsatisfyingly rushed to death. After this, we finally reach the border floor and final Monad passage of this run. We kill the funny tower, bring death to those who oppose us, and finish the passage off with a poor beetle who gets 1 shot. Finally completing all Monad passages in the game. We are then greeted by the Elizabeth door, but first we have one other objective. I decided now would be a good time to attempt the Reaper once more. My main objective in this fight was to, well, obviously firstly not die, but try my best to keep my team up so they can distract him from using Debilitate on Rize. We keep our attack and defense up, keep spamming Arbor Piercer, and decide to not revive Mitsuru on the grounds that she is as useful as a wet noodle at this moment. We get jump scared by the Confused, and unfortunately get RNG'd to death. I decide to rectify my mistakes by grinding Kin up to a suitable level, we spam some great clocks, and now it's finally time for the run back. With Kin in the party, we start faring a lot better. Cryptpay shows why he is best boy, and we whittle his health down bit by bit. I show off why Aegis is undisputed best girl,
as they say,
and why Cryptpay is a permanent party member. With that, the whole party levels up and the Reaper is defeated. I go back to Elizabeth and realize that you can only fight her if you do all of her requests. Whoops. However, just for the fun of it, I decide to call the battle and
Like you cut, G.
yeah, there is not a single shot I can beat her with my current setup. We break the game, accidentally delete everybody, and then reload. For the 131 promise day of my randomized run, we decide to spend the last day hanging out with LP, working as a wage slave, and going to Tartarus for the final time. We reach floor 259 where Jin awaits. Unfortunately, him, Takaya, and Nyx cannot be randomized due to having heavy scripted loaded fights. I tried time and time again, but to no avail. We go through the fight as normal, he spams some skills, I make a funny call. You know, it's gonna be really funny when I crit you. You're so trash, dude. And unfortunately, the game's scripting events save him from the embarrassment. He tries one more time to wipe us off the map with a Megi Dolan, but I decide to just basic attack him for the kill. Moving on to Takaya on floor 263, who was also saved by the scripts multiple times. He pops his Theurgy into Ghastly Whale and falls backwards. Now, as I said before, Nyx unfortunately cannot be randomized, despite my many attempts. So, with that being said, we have finally completed the Persona 3 FEMC Randomizer. What?
It matters not who you are. One thing is always certain. Death awaits all.
Just walk through his door.
Do it again.
I'm so smart! My brain! My brain!
And undeniably best girl.
I'm about cooking, bro.
Persona! Please destroy it!
The moment man devoured the fruit of knowledge, he sealed his fate. Entrusting his future to the cards, he clings to a dim hope. Yes, the arcana is the means by which all is revealed. Attaining one's dream requires a stern will and unfailing determination. The arcana is the means by which all is revealed. The silent voice within one's heart whispers the most profound wisdom. The arcana is the means by which all is revealed. Celebrate life's grandeur, its brilliance, its magnificence. The arcana is the means by which all is revealed. Only courage in the face of doubt can lead one to the answer. The arcana is the means by which all is revealed. It is indeed a precious gift to understand the forces that guide oneself. The arcana is the means by which all is revealed. There is both joy and wonder in coming to understand the hearts of others. Fall.
Let's do this.
You fool!
Well, that just happened.
Like you cut, G.
Hey, hang in there!
Yeah, it's rewind time.
The arcana is the means by which all is revealed. One of the greatest blessings attained from the gift of life is the freedom to pursue one's personal goals. The arcana is the means by which all is revealed. To find the one true path, one must seek guidance amidst uncertainty. The arcana is the means by which all is revealed. It requires great courage to look within oneself and forge one's own path. The arcana is the means by which all is revealed. Ever present alongside time is fortune, cool and unflinching. The arcana is the means by which all is revealed. One needs strength to endure and rise above suffering and torment. The arcana is the means by which all is revealed. In the face of unavoidable disaster lies the opportunity to search for redemption. The moment man devoured the fruit of knowledge, he sealed his fate. Entrusting his future to the cards, man clings to a dim hope. Yet the arcana is the means by which all is revealed. Beyond the journey you have taken lies the absolute end. It matters not who you are. One thing is always certain. Death awaits all. Alright, let's do this.
How can we help him?
Don't give up!
Give his strength! You better come back from this! He's going to face it all alone!
I'm not letting him die!
Promise. Is it you? Please, you have to make it back!
Keeping up with the Persona 3 tradition, the next boss fight took me literally 4 hours of trial and error to complete, but considering the last few fights couldn't be randomized, I decided to just spice it up a little bit just for a satisfying conclusion to the run. But with that, we reached the final cutscene of the game, hearing a heartwarming speech, close our eyes, and reach the credits, finally completing the Persona 3 Reload FEMC Randomizer. Honestly, this was a really fun but also really long challenge. Crashes definitely made it take longer, but overall I still had a great time with it. This is my first time actually experimenting with a long form video like this, so if you guys enjoyed it, please let me know in the comments below. And if you want to see more like this, definitely subscribe, because this will not be the last type of video we make like this. I have plenty of plans in the future for it. A special thanks to Mudkip and his whole team for even making this a possibility. To all the artists that worked to bring FEMC to life, and of course a huge thank you again to Melody, you know, the voice of FEMC, and of course a huge shout out to Yuki, my OC, and the artwork you see in like some of the thumbnails, that's all her. She's amazing. Please go check her out on Insta. Big shout out to Screamits for making the randomizer. I've been wanting to do one for such a long time, man, so I personally really appreciate it. Thank you Atlas, of course, for, you know, supplying the game. I mean, y'all have been cooking in the studio apparently. You got Metaphor, SMT, and this, like, you know, thank you. But last but certainly not least, thank all of you for coming and watching this silly video that I put together. A lot of time went into this. This is definitely a passion project of mine. I'm so grateful for everyone that's stopped by and has enjoyed their time. With that being said, guys, I had a blast making this and can't wait to do it again. My name is TB Maverick, and as always, it's been real, everybody. Till next time.